Hello again, welcome back. This time around we will continue the implementation example. This is going to be about the task service. So I finished the user service last time, at least for now, and now we will just do some initial work on the task service. I'm not going to finish it, I just wanted to show you a few more examples, but I want to leave some of the task service open for some of the next videos where we are going to do something slightly different. That's the plan, at least. So we will look at the task service. We can create a task with just a title. That's the only initial thing we need to set. And then we can update the title, and then we can update the description. That's it for now. There was also something about set assignee and update the estimate and complete a task and so on, but we will leave that until later. So we're still just focusing on the business layer. I have my business logic layer, or model manager, or service layer, whatever you want to call it, but this is where the business logic happened. And we're going to use the interface, the task service interface, and it will depend on a task DAO, and I'm going to create a mock DAO like in the previous video. And then we'll just do these less strict test-driven development. As I figured out last time, it wasn't really working for me, and maybe I did it wrong, but when I know where I am headed, then I just write the test that tests my final destination, rather than testing small steps along the way and then having to rework the test because they're no longer valid. That felt weird to me. And then in the next video, I want to actually do the data access object Postgres, so the real implementation, and use a database and make some integration tests, still using JUnit, but it's not strictly unit tests anymore. Now it's integration tests. But that's the next plan, and then we can work on maybe more of the task or redo some of the stuff we have. But then we can see that we can still drive our system from here, the interface, but then all the way to the database. And then in the next video, I have a plan of adding a socket server, which we can test, and then we can run the entire server with our tests. So that's going to be interesting to see if I can make that work. Okay, let's swap to IntelliJ. Here we are. Now first I am going to rework a little bit over here, because service tests. I think maybe I will rename this service tests, and then we're going to create a package user service, and I will move these two in here, and then we will do another package for the task service, because then I will do a package here, database integration tests. So that's for the next video, and then at some point we'll do server integration tests. Maybe that will work. Maybe I will have to rework it. We'll see. Okay, but first I know I'm going to have a user mock DAO, but for the task, so it's going to be a task mock DAO, and it's going to look almost identical. I'm going to need the same kind of functionality, because the data access object pattern gives us, let's just take a look, it gives us these methods no matter what the entity is, whether it's a task or user or project or whatever. We can create something, we can find something, we can update something. There's no find by username, but we can delete something. Maybe the task has some other find by whatever, but it will look pretty similar. So we could probably, if we wanted to, make a generic abstract class. It just contains T. So if you're a boss at generics, that might be an approach. Make an abstract mock DAO, but I won't do that for now. Instead, we'll just do something similar. So it's going to be a public list task, and I have saved tasks. Right, so and task is not something I have, so I wonder what it will import for me. I don't want that. I'm going to create here a task. Yeah. Add to Git, wonderful. Task, yeah. This one, let's see, now we have options. So there was something in JavaFX. Okay, but I take this one, basic server architecture, and then the list. Yeah, I need a constructor, public task, mock.dao, and save tasks, new array list. Just format that. And I need an interface, task.dao, and here, I mean, again, the interfaces are going to look similar. So I could make a generic interface, call it base DAO. Do I want to do that? That's not really the purpose of the video. It's quick. Let's try, see how it works. Base DAO, no, I'll do that in a different video at some point. Void, I can create a task. It takes a task. And we can import the right one. We can find the task, and I am going to use the universal unique identifier for this one as well. No, import, yeah. And we can update the task. Update the task. Task. And we can. That's enough for now. I'll do the delete when I need it. Still trying to do some TTD, not do more than I strictly need. I'm skipping ahead here because I should drive this with unit test, but I found that a bit annoying. So let's just like this. This one, not C# implements task DAO. That means I must have the methods create, save tasks, add task, right? User mock DAO, just so we can compare, because they are going to be pretty identical. I can find something. Right, you see, I just copy this. Save users, save tasks, return, and it's going to be a task. And then I will rename this task, and there must be a get ID on the task, so that's fair. It returns an ID here. Import class. Okay. Return task, and then we have an update. Again, it's going to be a replace essentially. So I don't want U, I want T, just to be consistent. And task, right? So first we look through all the tasks. We remove if we find the correct ID, and if we didn't find something, then we say task with ID not found. So that's an error, and then we save saved users. Okay, so that's good enough for now. It's going to work exactly like the other one. I'm not entirely sure about having this public list. I mean, I did consider that. When I assign that from the outside, so this is only something that's needed for the testing. But maybe I should instead have, created users to not include extra functionality in the mock other than what we're going to need. So, but I'll leave it like this for now. There is some convenience in that, and I guess when we do testing, it's okay to skip some corners perhaps. So I have my mock. That's good enough. Then I need my test class. Let's see if I can do it right this time. TaskService tests. and yeah, and I want to set up is again this one, before each public void setup. So it's going to be pretty similar to the other one. I'm going to need a task service, new task service, like that. I don't have that, so I guess we'll need to create it. Services, exceptions here. Task service, the interface, and then we do a task service impl. Yeah, implements the interface task service. So that's it for now. I should probably at some point maybe reorganize this. And then the question is how we want to do. I want to split it into tasks and users, or do I want to split it into interfaces and implementations? So is it a vertical or a horizontal division? And I think I'll just say that you should obviously do this in your system, create some better organization, and leave it out for now. So task service import class, yeah, and it's an impl, of course. And I need a field variable for this, create field, and it should be the interface. Yeah. So that's good enough. And then we need a mock DAO, or let's call it task DAO. Just to stay consistent, what did I call it over here? User service test. I call it user DAO, makes sense. There we go. Task DAO equals new task mock DAO. Oh. And we need a field variable for this field variable. It's going to be the interface. No, it's not. Okay, so that's my setup. I create clean instances every time, except I just need to provide this and create a constructor for it. Okay, that's annoying. That's not what we wanted. No. I want undo create constructor. I want to say create constructor of task. There we go. Yeah. So we want to depend on the interface, obviously. My task service implementation depends on the interface. The implementation of that interface is down here, but eventually it will be up here. I'm going to have that task Postgres DAO eventually. Okay, so that's the setup. Let's do the first test. What we were going to do a create with title first. Test. So public void should create a task with valid title. I call it title, but in my own mind I'm thinking of a user story when I say title. So a task is a user story, and let's just provide with a few different parameters here. String user story. Okay, and that means I have to remember how I did that other one. It was a parameterized test with value sources, strings. It was just like this, as a product owner, I can create a task. Blah blah blah. Yeah. And let's do another one. As a developer, I can create a task. So two different roles can both create tasks. I guess that's okay. How do I want to structure this in a nice way? Strings. Yeah. So now just clear the input. That's probably good. User story. So we do the same thing. Arrange, act, assert. And the arrange thing, do I need to set anything up? Well, no, I just have the clean ones here. And do I need to provide a unique... How did that actually work? Let's see, user service implementation, create. Yeah. How did I test that last time? User should instantiate, blah, create. Okay, so we just tested that the data was the same. There's nothing about the ID because I don't have that ID. It's created in the service class for me. So we say there's nothing to arrange. I could arrange a little bit here. User story. No, I have that input. So this is my arrange. The act would be service TaskService.create with a user story. And I don't have that method. Let's just do the rest here. Assert equals. So let me just cut that, this one, assertion, so I have access to all my assert methods. There we go, assert equals, that's nice. And the actual one is the user story, and the expected one is the, here we have to say task DAO first. I need that method to pull something out again. You can just say save tasks.get 0 created task. Come on, created task, and we put the created task.get title. Okay, so I have a test. Obviously it's failing because I don't have the code for it. Let's do this one first. That's the easy part. Right, title, create method, string title, return title. And that means I need a field variable that we can return, string title. Okay, so that works. Create, we just create that user story, yeah. And that means we have to implement it in the task service implementation, like this one. We can see it complains. Implement methods, like that. Okay, now it compiles. Just run it. Obviously it will fail. But just to see that we have something going so far. Index out of bounds. Okay, so that's the failure here. I guess that's fair. So obviously we need to move along here. I get the user story. This one should create a new task. And the right one equals new task with the user story. So this will complain because I don't have a constructor in the task. So let's just create constructor, and I want to call it title. I should be consistent and call it user story all over the place, shouldn't I? But then a task might be something that's not associated with the user story. So instead I should just call it title. There we go. And here we say I want to set the title, assign parameter field, like that. Yes. So I have a task. What was the steps again? Load, verify, modify, save. And that's what we're doing here. And the save will happen at the end. The loading, well, there's nothing to load, so I don't need that in this case here. Just say not available. Verify, so we have to check if the title is valid. and let's say it cannot be empty, obviously. If title is null or is empty, throw new domain logic exception, title task title cannot be empty. Is there some lower bound of letters? I mean, I guess, but what would that be? Instead, we could test the structure. If I wanted to have only user stories, we could test that it contains the word as a, and I want, but it's not only user stories. Maybe that's an upper bound. If title.length larger than 50, throw new domain logic exception. So close. Task title must be less than 50 characters. And then there is a programming guideline that says don't have magic numbers. So 50 is a magic number, no one knows what it actually means. And I have the same two places, so this is just a minor detail, but I'll just put it here. I call it title max length. So now it's clear what 50 actually is. And I can say down here, like that. Alright, that's the check. Then we save it, we say task DAO. I don't have that. So obviously I need to create a field variable, create field. Yes, task DAO, and we have a create with a task. Okay. Then I think I want to, let's test it again and see how we're doing. It will still fail, I'm going to know that. That was a bold claim on my part. I forgot that I had implemented this. Okay, so that works. Let's just see the test. Right. Create user story, we verify that it is actually in my task DAO. So that's the red, and now it's green, and then we need to refactor TaskService because I don't like to have all this in here. I'll just say validate title. Like that. Okay. Oh, that's, you highlight it and either Control-Alt-M to extract method or refactor. Come on. Refactor, extract method, Control-Alt-M. If you're on Mac, it will say something else, I guess. Extract it, I call it validate title. Yeah. That's fine. We'll just rerun it after I refactor code. I'm pretty confident I didn't break anything, but here we are. This wasn't really used. Well, obviously it's checked and it's allowed. So that's the first. I can create a task with a valid user story. Then we want to check the failure path. Value source strings public void should fail task creation when given given invalid title and string title. I should just call it title. Also up here, title. There we go. Invalid title. And what are we doing? We're trying to create something. So there's no arrange because I have the title. And the create part, and then we want to assert that we actually get the domain logic exception. So the act and the assert is going to be combined. Just say arrange, nothing, act, assert, and we say assert throws. And what do we expect? We get a domain logic exception class, and we do that when we say TaskService create with title. It's like this, like that. I need a comma over here, 2 arguments, and then I don't need this one. Okay, so I need to provide it with some incorrect parameters, obviously, and we had empty string, and I had null, which I cannot provide apparently. Right, null must be a constant. Interesting. But then I had something with more than 50 as a something with a very long title and name and other important stuff. Let's see, how far are we along? Oh, that was much. Maybe 50 is a bit short then. How much do I have here? 40. Okay, that's less important. It's just to show an example of some validation. Let's run it. Both of them works. That's nice. So that was the create task with the title. I think that's good enough. I actually found some other thing. Display name. Give an invalid title when creating task, then domain logic exception is thrown. Right. And if I run this, let's just see, I get a better description, but then I took care to sort of write these tests. So either I just get the test method or I get an actual message, readable, whatever. But that's neat. Then you can explain what your test does. Let's just update the, what did we plan to do? Update description, update title. We'll update the title. Test. Does that make sense? Can you update the title? I mean, then it's a new task. Maybe you made a spelling error. Okay, public void should update title on existing task with valid new title. And let's just give it a few arguments. Title and arrange, act, assert. What do we need to do? Well, I need a new task first. Task, new task. And it takes its string title, but I actually want to provide it with an ID, so I forgot that when creating because we didn't verify that, but we get to that now. So we say random ID and the title, nope. As a dev, I want coffee, whatever. This is my user story. And I need to update the constructor. It's first parameter, yeah. And can I call it something else? I want to call it ID. Yeah, so this is my method, constructor, yeah, refactor. And that means I get a problem in my task implementation, task service implementation, right? Did it do this itself? Interesting. Okay, I have that. Task DIO, save tasks equals new. Now what do we do? Could I do like this, array list? And what can I provide here? Collection. Can I just give it a task? Nope. List of task. I didn't actually need to modify this time around. No, it is an update. It is an update. So that was going to use replace task service here. No, the task mock DAO. That's going to use a replace, right? When I update something, I remove and then I insert again. Okay, the act. Now I have my test data. So I want to say act, we say task service update, and I need this ID, existing task ID, and the new title would be the argument from up here. And then the assert is, we say task assert equals, we say the expected is title, the actual would be task service, nope, sorry, task DAO, save tasks, and the first one, right, we only have one. And let me just updated task, and it's the title we updated. Right. Setup. I create a new task and put it in my database. I try to update that task, and then we pull it out of the database. That's the only one here, and then we check that the provided title is now on that. We say update task ID and title, and I have to implement it over here. And what do? We have load, verify, modify, save. So load, we say task DAO find with the task ID. That will return a task to me. We verify the title, so I already have that method down here, right? Validate title. We modify task.setTitle to the new thing here. Create a method and say this title equals title. Sort of broke a little bit. There we go. Back to the task implementation. And then we need to save it again, so we say task DAO update this task. Yeah, I think that's good. I can update, it should be saved back into this, and then I need to provide, so this is a parameterized test again with value source, strings, and as a product owner, I want something, I want to be able to rename the title. And did I break this? 46 characters, that's okay. As a whatever, I want whatever. Right, let's go. Null pointer exception cannot invoke equals because the return value of get ID is null. Alright, so we say task, where's my task? Task get ID is null. We can see the ID here is grayed out. And let me just expand everything. So that's not assigned. I do give it an ID, but it's never put up here. So let's just Alt enter on the ID, assign to parameter field here. Yes, rerun. Wonderful. And I think we'll stop here. Update. We'll just do a to-do. Update. Create test for update title of existing task with invalid title. So I need to test the failure case also, but I'll stop here. That's enough for the task. It's just more similar things. Basically, I wanted to show this one because we have the transaction script architecture, right? So my task service is going to have the create and update. That's going to be update title. A few videos back I talked about how update is a bad method because it updates everything. We want specifically to update the title. I would want update description at some point also, right, with a UID, task ID, and a string description. And we would have a void update remaining estimate, and that's probably just an integer estimate, right? So all these things that I can do explicitly to the task, I would have methods for that. Void set assignee, the task ID, and a user ID, right? So all these stuff here, that's the transaction script. One method for each thing we can do. And each method is going to look mostly like this unless we create or delete something, but all the modify is just load, verify, modify, save. It's a good mantra. Just so it doesn't complain, but then we get a throw new on supported operation exception. Fix me. There we go. And then I will fix that at some point. That's enough for now. Next video, really want to get that database in place so we can do some integration test. That means it will be a right, we'll do it like this. Clearly see what's going on. Mock DAO with you, and then we're going to test this part. See if it works. We can slack off on the strict testing because I'm not testing the business logic specifically anymore. I have that tests. So basically I just want to test the methods of the DAOs. Right, so we can, that's the idea. So that's going to be in the next video. Again, thank you for watching.